Hey, Alton.
Yeah, man.
What you doing, bud?
Oh, I was thinking about doing a write-about. We got this YouTube channel going about the culture of the high country,
Yeah.
and there's just so much deep culture here that goes way back to the 1700s and before that people don't know about, and we want to kind of try to share that with people.
Yeah, man. So a write-about is an interview with people.
Yeah, well, you don't have to walk up. You don't have to walk in the write-about, so you just ride up to them and talk to them. That's basically all it is.
All right, cool. Morning, Alton.
Hey, Jason.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm doing fine.
So what do we got doing right now?
Well, we're going to do a write-about USA.
They're starting to become known now. So who are we seeing today?
Well, a lady named Mary Morgan. She's a beekeeper, I understand. I know her from somewhere else, but it'll be interesting as long as we can interview her and stay away from the bees, I think everything will be okay.
Are you allergic to bees?
Well, I've had a couple incidents in my life and they weren't very pleasant.
Oh man, you need to stay in the car.
I might have to do that. I was reading it. I was doing a little reading on bees because I don't know much about them.
I got it. Yeah, go ahead.
It's going into the history of bees and about how people used to keep bees a long time ago in jars and hollow logs and just all kind of places they could just figure out a place to keep the bees. And I think they said this beehive thing that we have now, I believe I read it was invented in like 1830s or something. I could be a century off, but
Let me tell you what I know about bees.
Oh yeah.
Chemistry of the hive, being controlled by the queen, will determine how they're being born. They will determine the population of the hive. Now, how does a hive survive minus 10 degrees for a week?
That's a good question. Okay.
Mary, how are you?
Hey, Jason.
It's good to
Nice
see
to
you.
see you.
Thanks for doing this.
Glad to.
We're speaking with Mary Morgan, who is a local beekeeper. And we've known each other for a while. And I'm enthralled with what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Very important.
we're going to get into that, but yes, it is. With the pollinizations and things like that.
So if you think 60,000 bees in one hive, and we've got 5 hives going, that's a lot of bees.
Yes.
And it's also a lot of honey.
Yes.
And it's also very important for human survival. And so I'm glad we can do something that important.
So, where are you from?
Well, actually, I'm from a lot of places, but I retired from Maryland and moved here about 15 years ago.
Okay, you were a teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the demeanor of a teacher, which is kindly and loving. And so how long have you been doing bees, and how did that get started?
Well, my husband and I took beekeeping classes as a hobby once we retired.
Okay.
And that's how we started, about 10 years ago.
And how long were those classes?
About 3 weeks. We met one time a week.
Okay, cool.
For 3 weeks.
So, could you talk us through the life cycle of a beehive? You once explained it to me, and I have not retained it.
Okay.
We have lost a number of beehives through the winter. We have one beehive that survived, and we have purchased 5 other beehives to keep the honey flow going here. So when we buy a package of bees, it comes with, in a sealed box, a queen bee and about 20,000 worker bees. The queen bee has already been fertilized, which is an interesting process because as soon as a queen is born, she flies about a half a mile up in the air and breeds with several drones, which are male bees whose only purpose in life is to fertilize a queen. So as soon as a drone fertilizes a queen, he drops dead. She returns to the hive.
I was going to say, that's the job I want.
I'm not
I'm going
so
to
sure.
retract that one.
The queen returns to the hive and begins laying eggs. And she is able to lay about 2,000 eggs a day. And she can decide whether or not to fertilize that egg. So an unfertilized egg becomes a drone, and a fertilized egg becomes a worker bee.
Wow.
When a worker bee is first born, its job as an infant is to take care of, groom, and feed the queen bee. So they are able to make royal jelly out of the honey. Mm-hmm. So if you can do the math, if a queen can lay 2,000 eggs a day, several weeks later, 2,000 a day can be born. So we're talking about a lot of bees. The general size of our regular hive is about 60,000 bees. It takes about 2 million flowers for bees to make 1 pound of honey. In the life cycle of a bee, of a worker bee, she can make half a teaspoon of honey in her lifetime.
Okay.
A worker bee lives about 6 weeks.
Okay.
And generally dies when her wings wear out and she can no longer fly.
Ah.
But a worker bee can fly about 2 miles away to gather nectar. So you figure this little teeny tiny body flying 2 miles, gathering honey, flying back to the hive. You can understand how wings can wear out.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the worker bee brings nectar back to the hive and deposits it into one of the cells in the honeycomb. The cells are then fanned at night to dehydrate it as much as possible, and then it is capped. When we extract honey in the fall, we cut the caps off and put the honey frames in a centrifuge and spin the honey out of the hives without damaging the honeycomb. The only thing we've damaged is the cap.
So there's a benefit for a person choosing a local honey as opposed to a national or generic honey.
Correct.
And why would that be?
Because local honey has local pollen from local flowers that work as an immunosuppressant for people that have allergies to local pollen.
Gotcha.
Living here in Elk Park, we have an awful lot of Christmas trees.
Yes.
Well, bees do not pollinate Christmas trees, so we don't get the benefit of pine pollen in the honey making process.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there are a lot of trees that the bees do not touch. Another interesting fact is that when we get ready to spin the honey in the fall, we spin it before the goldenrod bloom happens. Goldenrod makes stinky honey.
Really?
And the bees love it, but it's not so good to me. And so we spin the honey before the goldenrod,
And when
which is
that?
interesting. September-ish.
Okay. Did you have that year?
Well, we can extract about 30 pounds of honey from one frame. And often we can get 2 frames from hive.
Really?
And with 5 hives, that's 10 frames or 300 pounds of honey.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I would be curious if you're taking the honey by taking the caps off. Are we stealing the bees' survival honey that they need?
No, because we always leave 1 frame of honey on the hive for the bees.
Okay.
And they love the goldenrod honey, which we leave on the hive for the winter. And so that's their winter food.
Gotcha. Cool.
I think the beekeeping process is one of the most interesting things that I have ever learned about in my entire life.
So, thank you. Thank you very much. It was very cool.
Well, you're welcome.
All right.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Okay. Mary, hi.
Hi, Jason.
You're in your beekeeping outfit.
Yes.
Cool. Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
May I hold that smoker?
Sure.
Cool. So there's your hives.
How about that?
Mary, what are we seeing down there?
Well, we're seeing 3 beehives. 2 of them are brand new, and they were just installed a week ago. And the other one, the one in the middle, survived the winter here and is very strong already.
How does a beehive survive down to 0 temperature for a week?
Well, we wrapped the hive with insulation,
Mm-hmm.
and we put a mouse guard across the front entrance to the hive to prevent mice or critters of any kind from going into the hive. And because they are in full sun, the hive stays enough to protect the queen with the worker bees who vibrate and gather around her and keep her warm through the winter.
Wow. So, Alton,
Yeah.
what'd you think of Mary the beekeeper, bud?
Well, that was kind of interesting. It's the first beekeeper I have ever met. I don't know about you, but seems to be a thing of passion, I guess, is what I would say. I don't think they make enough money doing that for 3-4 beehives, whatever they had there. But it was very interesting. Had their own little jar and their own little logo, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, so they're producing 300 pounds of honey from a hive, and they got 5 hives. That's a lot of honey.
Yeah. Now, you know, when you go down to 221, I think that guy's got about 8 or 9 hives.
Yes.
Yes. He's in the major production.
All right, bud.
Okay.